AI is making the job to be more specific.
Let's hear from the experts about how artificial intelligence is transforming the world of business. I'm Katie Gaertner, and this is Unsupervised. Hey, Business Badgers. Today I'm sitting with Dayin Zhang, a professor in the real estate department here at our own Wisconsin School of Business. Dayin got his PhD from UC Berkeley in real estate and finance. And his research lies at the intersection of financial intermediation and household finance. So without any further ado, Dayin, let's talk about real estate and AI.
Thank you, Katie, for the very nice introduction. I'm happy to share anything I know about AI with the Badgers here.
Yeah, so let's start with what is real estate and why is it a business major?
Real estate actually is a legal concept. It means the ownership of land or any improvement attached to it. Basically, it means housing, right? Mm-hmm. So that is a more familiar term to the students here. Housing is important. It is the most important asset class for most households in the U.S. and worldwide as well. And on the aggregate, real estate is probably one of the most important asset class for the whole economy as well. So surrounding the real estate assets, we have real estate businesses. Mm-hmm. And that is why we have, business school students coming to study about real estate. So in that word, I would, it's helpful to divide the business into two parts. One is equity part, surrounding the assets, owning assets. That might mean, develop a real estate, buy and sell, lease and manage the property, and investment. And the other side is the debt side. Because, a very unique feature about this type of asset is that you cannot really move, right? You cannot move the land, you cannot move the, grandeur hall to a different places. That makes real estate a perfect collateral for debt. That's why, the real estate collateral debt is the most important or biggest, debt in any economy. And we give it a very special name. It's called mortgage. So there's a mortgage industry as well, and that involves lending and related to banking, asset management, securitization, and so on and so forth. So that is another part of the real estate business.
Wow, that sounds really interesting, like a really great major to consider. What is happening? How is AI being used in real estate?
All right, so I also, ask the same question, again and again in my, research and also when I was teaching as well, because now, AI is a real thing, right? We all want to embrace AI. I will, provide my humble opinion on that. So the thing about AI, at its core is, data science innovation, right? So I would approach it from two layers. One is a bit old-fashioned AI, which is I think people now call it predictive AI. Mm-hmm. That is just to use the data and to process the data. Mm-hmm. And now everyone was talking about generative AI, which can create something that we just don't know or we don't have in real life. So I think both of them is very tightly linked to the real estate business. Even though real estate business is known to be the slowest to adapt.
Oh, okay.
But we still see some very exciting improvement or change in the field. So first is the predictive AI, managing the data. So for example, let me use the buy and sell real estate as example. That is the backbone of the real estate industry. So actually you have people which we call realtors out there to help people to either sell your house that you owned or buy a house for you. I think that is the most important decision for a lot of households in their life, right?
Yeah.
So that is a very high-stake decision-making process, and you want to have a good realtor to help you to do that. So think about, okay, if you want to be a realtor, you will have to do a lot of things. First, it involves, you understand the market, right? So you need to, see a lot of deals, go through a lot of deals so you can understand. So that is data processing, even though we don't call it, in old days. And then you need to do, another part of your life is to, deal with your client, customer service. So first part, for example, the classic, task you will have to approach is that, okay, imagine, a person asks you to buy a house for them. You will, the most important you can give to your client is how much the property you have, saying how much it's worth, right? So that is, the valuation problems. So that is a classic, task that, every realtor has to confront in their daily businesses. And that is, what AI has been, already been widely used. For example, there is a company called Zillow. I'm sure you know.
Yes.
That is a easy access to a lot of properties in the world. So they provide, estimate called Zestimate, Z estimate. So that is their, AI product. Even though, used to be called, machine learning technologies. Now, we always, rebrand the technology. Now it's the predictive AI. So that is a classic example of how AI is applied. Just, to use more information to generate, valuation estimate for the house your client wants to buy. Used to be, we, in academics, we do that all the time. We use regressions, and we call it hedonic regressions. We try to, collect data on, how many bedrooms, how many bathrooms, what is the square footage of the property, and put them into a regression, and then, generate a value. But that is, very coarse because the old technology cannot really understand a lot of information that is existing in the world. For example, the color, the surroundings, the feeling, a lot of, if you give the image of the property, which is, very important, affecting people's valuation decisions, but, regression cannot really handle that. So that is what, data science, innovation can help. So Zestimate, not only they use all the hard information we used to, throw to the regressions and spit out the value, but they can now process images. They can just give locations, all the, other, hard to process information to the AI, so they can just, give you a better estimate of the property. So that is one, example of how predictive AI can be used. So as a realtor now, I can't outsource a lot of my time or my energy just to this AI, so that can free me up to do more second part of the business, which is to deal with your clients.
Yeah, that's interesting because I've always assumed that Zillow would be a competitor to real estate agents, but you're saying that it's an asset and it's a tool. These predictive models that these realtors have access to makes them more able to do what they do best.
Yes, the AI can be competitive because they can replace of the task, but it just cannot replace all of the task, right? So usually it does is to free you up from some task that can be replaced, and then you focus on the task that AI is not very good at it yet, and then you just help to train yourself to be a better competitor in the world with AI. So yes, that is a predictive AI part. And then another part I also would say, which is making less progress compared with predictive AI, which is generative AI. So I think that the bigger question is that how the real estate industry uses generative AI. I feel it's more helpful on the customer service part. So if you imagine a client wants to buy a house, right? So house it's an emotion decision, right? So because it's going to be a home, you want it to be welcoming, warm, and there is now tools like virtual staging, which is taking the home, and the generative AI are very good at of creating something out of nowhere, right? So you have an empty house, they can just put beds on it, different colors on the wall. You can replace the window and so on. So that give you a way to see whether what is the home potential of this house is. So that is another part. The AI is helping the buying and selling of the houses.
That's incredible. I remember just a couple of years ago, my husband and I built a house, and it was so hard, that very thing that you're talking about visualizing what is this going to actually, we can think about what it would be like, and we can describe to each other the potential we see, but it was really hard to have concrete ideas of what would this idea look like. And so to think about, there's these generative AI tools that will furnish the house virtually for you, and you can really have that emotional connection with a home much more easily. That's incredible.
Yeah, I think that is a fantastic example that is even more helpful for if you want to develop a new house by yourself, right? Yeah. Because it's really out of nowhere, and you have no idea whether it will be. Again, it's a high stake decision. You don't want to know it's a bad idea after you have already spent hundreds of thousands of dollars building this house, right?
Yes.
And also even bigger application is city planning, right? So there is developing a city is another bigger decision, right? Yeah. So you can also apply the same idea, putting stadium there versus there, and how does affects transportation, the whole landscape of the city, right? So that is another example.
Well, I think we've touched on this, but for students who are thinking about majoring in real estate, who are coming into the business school, how are these jobs in real estate, how do you see them changing due to AI? And then what skills are becoming important for students who want to enter the real estate industry?
AI is making the job to be more specific. Mm-hmm. So it used to be, as a realtor, you have to be, understand market a little bit, understand client a little bit, everything, a little bit, scaling up, even if you're working for, commercial, work as a commercial broker as well, right? You touch on, every side of the business a little bit. And in the future, as I said, you will have to be either engineer or sales, right? I think either at the back end, you're dealing with the data human really cannot deal with. Okay. Cannot read all the profiles, forecast the market, or collect information by hand. You cannot do that anymore. You will have to be an engineer or data scientist to just collect tons of data. On the other hand, still we need to deal with it is a very emotional process of buying houses. Yeah. You don't want, as a buyer, you don't want to talk with, ChatGPT to make the decision, right? So you will need people specializing. And also the most, whether you want to buy a house, you want to invest into commercial real estate, or you want to get a mortgage. Yeah. The fundamental problem is that actually you just know the destination, or sometimes you don't actually know. Yeah. Right? So you have this idea, I want to buy a house, but how large, where, how much mortgage I should take. And speaking of the mortgages, you want to get a mortgage, and then how long, what rate, what structure, do you want to pay more down payment or less down payment? So you need a person to understand your, give you advice of your financial need, try to assess you, the risk-taking ability you can sustain, and so on. So still there are important client interaction part of the business.
Yeah.
I think, in the future, you will have to, choose one of them, right? To focus on either you are doing, financial service or this, sales or engineer, specializing in, depending on whether introvert or extrovert in the future.
Yeah, it really sounds like there's going to be this fork where students will be like, am I interested in the data of real estate? And if so, I need to be a real estate data analyst or a real estate data scientist and create insights that are then going to inform these people who want to have that human interaction and want to have like a role in the emotional element of real estate.
Exactly. And also, even if you said, you talk to yourself, I just want to be, talking with the clients, go to the parties with them and so on.
Yeah.
So that is the fun part. That is why a lot of people choose real estate, because there are a lot of parties in the real estate business. But you still have to understand the technology part.
Yes. All right. One last question for you.
All right.
If you could turn over one responsibility to an AI or robot that you would never have to do again, what bot would you invent?
Okay, I actually have a very specific, part of my life I want to be replaced by the AI or any technology. I think AI could be able to do that, which is to answer the scam calls I get every day. I don't know how many you get.
Yes.
I notice I'm getting more and more scam calls.
Yeah.
Because now our profession, we don't really have to use phones.
Yes.
Right. So the only one who call me every day is either my wife or scam calls.
Yes.
But because there is a chance my wife call me, so I always have to spend energy. Okay. Now you hear your phone is vibrating, and don't know where the phone is. Spend energies, try to quickly get a phone because my wife would be mad if I didn't pick it up. And then you found it's a scam call, which irritates me all the time. I will just pick up the call and spending 10 minutes talking to them, and
to waste their time.
Yes.
Yeah.
And that is costly for them.
Yeah.
So I just don't have the enough time to waste with them.
Yeah.
So I really want the AI is,
to just
I think
answer the call.
Answering the call and take as much time as from them, and then I think that will help to reduce.
That's a great idea. That's a great idea. I love it.
Okay. Yeah. I just hate them so much.
I do too. I'm on board. I'm ready. I'm ready to develop this. We can make it. Well, thank you so much, Dayin. I really enjoyed talking to you about real estate, and I appreciate your time.
All right. Thank you very much. I'm glad to be here.
Unsupervised is brought to you by the Wisconsin School of Business. It's written and hosted by Katie Gaertner, with sound editing and production by Derek Schneider and Billy Kardaj.